Hello my friends. Guys, in this video there's going to be a bit of information overload, but I hope you can still follow it with me. Alright, so first let's just go over some basics. So you get a piece of gear, and whether it's blue, purple or orange, you can still rune it at any time, and upgrading it to purple and then orange will not delete the runes you've already put into it, so don't be scared of that. So we're going to shift right click it, go edit runes, and now we have the runes here. So runes have different elements. You've got earth, water, air, fire, etc. And only certain runes match with certain elements. So let's say the rune you want to put in doesn't match with water, it matches with fire. So what you'd do is you'd click on reroll rune slot and go random element, and you keep going, you keep paying money until you finally get the fire one. That's why this process is very expensive. It'll come down to your luck, but if you have any service tokens, you can just on demand change it to a slot that you want. The other thing is, when you get the piece of gear, you can one time only click on this add new rune slot, and then I'm going to pay this amount of 65 gold, which is quite a lot, and then now I've unlocked the final rune slot. So I suggest you do this when you've just gotten the item. You don't have to wait for it to be upgraded to purple and orange to do this. Alright, so we're at a runecrafting station at our capital city. Now these runes here to the side are just basic runes. So basically, this rune will give you 360 max health if you put it into a life rune slot. And that's all it will do. Fusion runes on the other hand give you a certain effect. So this one, Aegis, when your absorb shield is destroyed, gain a defense for 5 seconds. There's also other ones where you can get an extra roll, or when you take damage you gain a buff and you do more damage. Now some fusion runes are specific to a certain piece, so if I go to chest slot only, these fusion runes only go in a chest slot, and so on. So that's how fusion runes work. And then you've got rune sets. Now if you look very carefully at this description, this rune is a fire rune and it gives 269 critical hit rating, so it will give you that 269 crit, but it also works towards a set. So if you look down there, it says rune set bonuses. When you have 2 power, you get 0.21% strike through, and so on. So these are superior to the basic runes because the basic runes would only give you the crit. This gives you the crit and it works towards a set bonus to give you even more stats. Now rune sets also have something called power. So again, if you read in the green writing, this particular rune says it adds 2 power to the devastation rune set. So if you added this rune to a fire slot in your gear, you would have 2 out of 6 devastation. So with 2 out of 6 devastation, if you look down here, 2 power, so that's like 2 out of 6 devastation, you would only get the 0.21% strike through bonus. So lastly, there are class specific rune sets, and right now we're looking at the bombardment one for the espers. So the main difference is a class rune set has specific bonuses for the class. So if you look at the description, this one actually affects my Esper's abilities. It enhances them, making them stronger. One more thing before we move on. If you look at your PvP gear, it's item level 70. Now if you look at this drop down tab, we pick level 80, because level 80 has superb runes, and superb runes, if you look at the description, it says required item level 70, so superb runes work best for our PvP gear. You can't use anything above level 80, you can't use this and you can't use this, these are both for PvE. But while we're here, something to note is that the classes that like to use Striker, which are mainly engineers and medics, usually take some things from superb, but they also go down to level 50 and they take this high multi-hit rune. So that's just something to take note of. Alright, so now that the fundamentals are out of the way, we can look into this more specifically. So what we're mainly going to focus on are the rune sets, because that's what we're mainly going to use. So out of this huge list, which rune set do you use? Well, it depends on your class. Usually your abilities and amps can give you clues on what's best for you. So for instance, Mind Burst tier 4, it increases critical hit chance by 10%. So that's kind of telling me that I'm going to be doing a lot of like crit and crit hit severity. Okay guys, so generally speaking, spell slingers, espers, stalkers and warriors all use devastation, because it has crit hit and it has crit hit severity, and those are the main stats that they will use. And again, generally, engineers and medics will mainly use Striker, because Striker has lots of multi-hit, which is their main stat. And if there's any class I missed out, that's pretty funny. But yeah guys, that's just a general outline. Like I'm all for trying different things, you know, like go be unique and try different things. Alright guys, so now let's do an example. Let's rune this thing together. And because I'm an Esper, I want to do an Esper example. So we know the stats that we want for Esper. We want crit hit, and we want crit hit severity. And we want to favor crit hit severity. Why? I don't know, but some guys did some like number crunching whatever, and that's kind of like the better way to go. Alright, so we're gonna aim to get 6 out of 6 set bonus for devastation in the chest piece, because you can have 6 out of 6 in every single piece if that's what you wanted to, because that's how it works. The set bonuses are per piece, so you could have 6 out of 6 devastation in chest and have all those bonuses, 6 out of 6 devastation in your shoulders and have all those bonuses, so that's how it works. Alright, so this is how you do it. So this one, it's a fire rune. So for this chest piece, we're going to need a fire slot, so we're going to have to do some re-rolling. So I'm going to go to equip runes and I'm going to chuck this chest on here. And let's go with this one, random element. So yeah, as this goes, you're like losing money and losing money. Oh, we got an earth one. We're actually going to use that, so we're going to keep that there. Give me the fire. Alright guys, we finally got a fire one. Alright, so let's go back to create rune sets and go to devastation and create this first one. Now keep in mind, this one alone says it adds 2 power to the devastation rune set. So let's make it. And obviously it costs some materials down here, and hopefully you have them, otherwise you might have to go buy these materials. So I'm going to click on this rune and I'm going to add this one. Now see how it says adds 2 power? So now we've got 2 out of 6 devastation. So now we have 269 critical hit rating, and we have the 2 set bonus, which is 0.21% strike through. So if you look at the piece here, you can see the 269 critical hit and it says 2 out of 6 devastation. Now remember, we're trying to get 6 out of 6, so I'm going to get this one as well, which also gives 2 power to the devastation rune set. And this one is an earth slot. So I'm going to click on this and add this. Boom, now we've got 4 out of 6 devastation. And if you look at the set bonuses, you can see what you've gained from it. Here's something else to note. We already made this one and we already made this one. You can't put a duplicate in the same piece. I can't make another of this and another of this. That would be like 8 out of 6 devastation, which doesn't exist. So now we have to look at these lesser ones. This one says adds 1 power to the devastation rune set, and it's a fire rune, so I'm going to make that. And this one is an earth one for crit hit severity, 1 power as well. I'm going to create that. So then we go back here, and then we add this little one. Then we need another goddamn fire rune, so we're gonna go waste some more money. So we're gonna try re-roll for a fire rune again. Yep, got it. I'm gonna put in this one, which adds 1 power to complete the 5 out of 6 to 6 out of 6. So there you have it. You have 6 out of 6 devastation, and we have 1 slot left, so you might be thinking, what do you do with that? So this is where you can use a fusion rune, because a fusion rune goes into any slot. It doesn't matter if it's earth, water, anything, it will just go into anything. So if you were putting a fusion rune in here, you just put it in now. But let's say you don't want to put a fusion rune in here, so what do? So what we usually do then is try to get another set that has a good 2 set bonus. So if we go into bombardment, we can get this critical hit severity rune that goes into the earth slot, which gives us a 2 set bonus of 0.18% critical hit chance. However, check this out. If I go down to Resurgence, Resurgence is not a class set, but it can give me with the 2 set bonus 0.18% critical hit chance. So why do we pick bombardment over Resurgence? The answer is, if you know your class and you know you favor critical hit severity, the last slot we have is an earth slot. So this one can give me critical hit severity in the earth slot. Resurgence can give me critical hit in a fire slot. So that's the difference there. So when you're all done, it will look like this. 6 out of 6 devastation, 2 out of 8 bombardment. So if you check out this weapon, it's exactly what we did for devastation. The only difference is, instead of getting the 2 out of 8 bombardment in the last rune slot, we instead put an imbuement called Venom, which is an imbuement specific to weapons. And if you're wondering, Blood Rage is another good one for Espers, as well as Acrobat for your boots, which basically gets you like a 3rd roll. So one thing I can't pass over is the shoulders. Generally, everybody gets 8 out of 8 of their class set in the shoulders. But why would you do that? Because again, the class set gives you specific power-ups for your class, so it enhances some of your spells. So that's really handy to have. You also might have noticed that there's a strike-through rating rune in here. Usually you only need 1 strike 3 rating rune in your whole gear set. And generally for PvP you aim for about 4% strike through. So just quickly guys, just to demonstrate how a fusion rune works, a fusion rune can go into any element. So look at this, I can put this suppression fusion rune in air, in earth, in water, it doesn't matter. So that's how it works with all fusion runes. Some suggestions on which fusion runes to take. For weapon it's usually between Bloodgeon, I don't know how to say it, and Venom. Enrage is a really good one for your hands. And for your boots, it's either between like Steadfast, Acrobat, or Speed Burst generally. So I'm sorry that I could only cover Esper DPS in this guide, but yeah, generally Spellslingers, Espers, Stalkers, Warriors are going to use Devastation, and they're going to use another class set bonus, so Bombardment, Vindication, Resurgence, Havoc, stuff like that. And Engineers and Medics are going to be using Multi-Hit, so they're mainly going to be using Striker. But guys, check out the link in the description section. It's a link to a website where people upload a lot of builds, guides, amp builds. But yeah guys, generally if you follow what we did here and you go for like 6 out of 6 Devastation or whatever yours is, Striker or whatever, that's generally a good way to go. It's not going to be your optimal damage build, but generally it's a really good start. And guys, for an absolute last resort, just play a couple of BGs and pay attention to who's doing the most damage and who's doing really well. Then you stalk them and you just check out what runes they're using, you know. But yeah guys, I hope this helped. I'm sorry it took so long. There was so much to cover and hopefully I did it all justice and hopefully you followed through okay. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments section. Thanks for watching and hey, go rune that gear. Oh yeah, get that power. Alright, hey, peace.